On Tech News Today, the North Korean government says they didn't hack Sony Pictures. They're glad somebody did. Plus, another controversy hits Uber, and an engineer builds a robot to help him find dates. We'll tell you all about it on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, December 8th, 2014. This episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster, easier, and cheaper. Post your job to 100-plus job boards with one click. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And by SmartThings. SmartThings let you control and monitor your home from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. To get started, visit smartthings.com/twit and you'll save 10% off any home security or solution kit when you use the code TWIT10 at checkout. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. Welcome to the show. I'm Mike Elgan, and there you are, Jason Cleanthes. How you doing, man?
Hey, Mike. Real excited.
Fantastic. And Jason has been producing for a couple of weeks now, and he's been mastering the incredibly technical and difficult task of doing technical direction as well. So he's finally behind the controls. So I'm really excited to have you here doing that. And now, Jason, it's a new world for Tech News Today.
Yes, it's a very new world.
And we hired Jason not only for his incredible technical skills and experience, but also because his name is Jason. All the documents say Jason on them, and I didn't want to change the name, so we went out of our way to find somebody named. Just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sorry, Jason. We hired him because he's the best guy for the job. Anyway, let's jump into the news. We also have Lindsey Turrentine, our co-anchor today. How you doing, Lindsey?
I'm doing great, and I am excited to be here on Jason's first day. That's a big deal. Welcome.
Isn't it exciting? This is actually, the truth is, this is actually the second show that he's technically directed, because this morning at 8 o'clock we did a special holiday episode, which we, of course, recorded, and we'll play it the day before Christmas. And he did that one beautifully. So this is actually he's a grizzled veteran by now. But
all right. Well, I'm not honored then. Forget it.
You should still. I think we should all be. It's his first day. How about that? Well, speaking of days that will live in infamy, Newman. Remember the video of the guy who sang that sort of like what was it? I guess it was a Romanian pop song. Yep. And that was the original viral video. It predates YouTube itself, and that turned 10 years old on Saturday. Everybody's seen this video, but let's take another look at this, Jason. Let's run the awesomeness. You gotta love the guy. What he lacks in dance maneuvers, he makes up in sheer, unbridled enthusiasm.
It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. His name...
It's wonderful. Who doesn't do that all the time? I mean, everybody does that.
Every morning before the show. That's how I get ready for the show. At the time, he was 19 years old. Now he's 29. But his name is Gary Bralsma. And the Romanian pop song he's lip-syncing to is called Dragostea din Te, I think is how you say that. And this video has been viewed more than 700 million times. But apparently not by Burke. You've never seen this before, Burke? So, Burke, I'm sorry you almost got away with going through your whole life and never seeing it, so apologies. Anyway, I love the guy. Happy birthday to that first viral video. Now viral videos are coming out every single day. But that is pretty fun stuff. And walk down memory lane. Well, why don't we leap into the news? The North Korean government denied hacking Sony Pictures over the weekend, but they called the devastating attack a righteous deed and suggested that its supporters and sympathizers might have actually done it. The government statement feigned ignorance about the entire situation, but they had previously threatened merciless countermeasures if the movie were to be released. Lily Hay Newman is a reporter for Slate and the lead blogger for Future Tense, and she joins us now. Hey, Lily, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. Now, who done it, Lily? Are the North Koreans behind the hack? What's your best guess?
There's been a lot of speculation, and I think it's unknown at this point. People think that it could be North Korea because in a sense, that seems like something they might do, sort of on face value. They're a reclusive nation state. They are strange, unpredictable. But a lot of experts are saying that they don't think they're the ones behind the hack and that it doesn't fit with other hacks that have been attributed to North Korea. They had a pretty different style. So it seems like maybe it wasn't actually them this time.
So we have the senior correspondent at IDG, Martin Williams, saying probably not. What are his reasons beyond, this is kind of weird? Does he have anything more specific than that?
Right. A lot of analysts looking at it have been saying it's not like North Korea to identify themselves or take credit. And in fact, like we were just saying, they are denying it, both their representatives overseas and in Pyongyang itself. And so one of the issues is this Guardians of the Peace, hashtag GOP, that took credit for the hack. That's not typical of North Korea and their types of maneuvers. Whoever's behind it is also calling a lot of attention to it, and they're trying to wreak maximum havoc, but not necessarily do sort of intelligence gathering style hacking. It's more about just causing a lot of problems, and that also doesn't seem to be in the style of a nation state funded hack.
Now, just to recap on the North Korea did it theory, the idea is that they had threatened retaliation for the release of a movie called The Interview starring James Franco and Seth Rogen. And from the trailers, it looks kind of funny and pretty dumb. And that movie is to be released Christmas Day. And in retaliation for the hack, according to this theory, it's just a theory, the hack took place. They stole everything from the company. They released 5 movies into the torrent sites, and they erased many of the computers and servers at Sony Pictures, forcing employees to use pen and paper for a few days. And the sort of commissary there started taking cash only. They completely freaked out. It's probably the biggest corporate hack ever of a company. And so that's that theory. Now, there's another theory, Lily, that it was done by a disgruntled former employee. What do you make of the disgruntled former employee theory? Do you think that has any merit?
So I don't have any particular sort of inside tract on that theory, but that was Tommy Stiansen from a cyber firm called Norse, who was saying that he was going to go to Sony and the FBI with some evidence of that he and his group had done a forensic, investigation, and felt that they had evidence that some of the IP addresses that the hack originated from could match up potentially with this former employee in Japan. And it's also possible, as North Korea itself said, that these are hackers acting on behalf of North Korea, or maybe it is somehow related. There are a lot of theories right now, and Sony has been pretty careful not to say that they're ruling anything out. Also, just about the movies that were taken during the hack and leaked, one thing that people say may be an indication that it wasn't North Korea is that whoever perpetrated the hack didn't actually take the interview. They didn't leak that movie on torrents. So that seems like kind of a crucial oversight if you're trying to protest a certain movie, that you wouldn't even steal that one.
Well, it seems to me that they wouldn't want people to see it. So that, to me, that's evidence that it could have been them, because they're trying to suppress that movie. That's the whole goal of this whole thing. Now, one final thing I wanted to ask you about. Now, of course, the attack is thought to have originated in China. The original North Korea theory was that North Korean sort of maybe a mercenary group of hackers or something was working on behalf of the North Koreans. The fact that it may not have been North Korea who did it, and the fact that the hack may have originated in China, even if the North Koreans were behind it, doesn't diminish what North Korea is capable of. Can you talk just very briefly about the North Korean hacking operation, what its limitations and possibilities are?
Sure. This was something that I personally found very surprising, because I wouldn't think of North Korea as having incredible prowess in this area. but multiple accounts that have been presented both to Congress and in security research. And there was a Reuters article, I think, on Friday that went up. All of them are saying that North Korea really does have a lot of hacking capability. They employ maybe almost 2,000 hackers, Reuters said 1,800, in a special bureau called Bureau 121. And those hackers are really respected in North Korea and valued. So clearly the country is working on this as a form of aggression internationally and has goals with their hacking campaigns.
Well, it's an interesting development and a very interesting story. Now, Lily, you're the lead blogger for Future Tense. Can you tell us briefly what Future Tense is?
Yeah, Future Tense is a collaboration between Slate, the New America Foundation, and Arizona State University. And it's basically a site where we're trying to look at the Citizen's Guide to the Future, what is happening now in policy and in tech news that's going to affect people today and down the line in terms of their daily lives, and also crazy cool stuff that's going on.
Very cool. Lily Hay Newman is at slate.com, and you can follow her on Twitter at Lily H. Newman. Thanks for joining us, Lily.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we want you to shoot us an email at tnt@twit.tv and tell us what you think about the North Korean possibility as being behind the attack. Do you think they did it, or do you think they didn't do it? Let us know and tell us why. Well, in a related story, sort of, Sony Computer Entertainment, different from Sony Pictures Entertainment, says its PlayStation network has been hacked. While the Sony Pictures breach included theft of just about all the company's data, followed by the erasure of nearly all the company's data and applications, the PlayStation attack may not have involved theft or erasure. The main effect was to lock out users for a few hours from the service. The system has already been restored, and the two hacks may be unrelated. That's what they're saying. That's the technically accurate thing to say. Lindsey Turrentine, what do you think? Do you think there's any possibility that this is just the same hackers trying all the different Sony companies to see if they can do maximum damage?
I mean, it seems awfully fishy, but then again, Sony has had problems with hacking PSN before. This isn't the first time that this has happened. So it seems like there's either, I kind of feel like there's somebody out there, and maybe it's North Korea, but maybe it's somebody else who has a very long-standing grudge against Sony just generally.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they don't have as suspects everyone who's irritated by James Franco, in which case we're all probably being watched and suspected. Well, in just a sec, coming up, we'll have more trouble for Uber. We're going to tell you all about that. But first, I want to talk about ZipRecruiter, one of our sponsors today. You know, the thing about hiring people, it's the most important thing you'll ever do in your company, because if you have the right people, you're going to succeed. And if you have the wrong people, you're not going to succeed. So you got to hire the right people. The trouble is, the right people are spread all over the place online. They're on all kinds of different job boards, and even more interestingly and more difficult, they're on different social networks. And ZipRecruiter will help you find them. It'll help you find them on Facebook, on LinkedIn, of course, also Twitter and Google+, all the social networks. You can go out there and find the best candidates there. Where else can you find great candidates? You can find them in ZipRecruiter's own resume database. You can search nearly 5 million resumes at ZipRecruiter. And you can look super professional even if you're a very, very small company. You can add your company logo and colors to make your job pages an extension of your business, and you can collaborate with others in your organization to find the best candidates, and it's the same price no matter how many users you have in your company. You can add your list of job openings to your own company website in seconds. All you have to do is just cut and paste the widget. So find out why ZipRecruiter has been used by more than 200,000 businesses. Right now, our audience can try ZipRecruiter for a free 4-day trial. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today. Well, Lindsey, do we really need another reinvention of journalism? One journalist, I guess, says yes, doesn't he?
Yeah, we are never going to stop trying to reinvent journalism. The new media startup, First Look Media, it's owned by eBay billionaire Pierre Omidyar. I've never known how to pronounce it. It's had a rocky recent history, but is trying to move past it with a new effort that's led by Andy Carvin, who's formerly of NPR. The effort is called Reportedly. It's soft launching today with a post on Medium and lots of other posts and lots of other social media networks. And it's introducing the concept of a newsroom that's run natively on various social media platforms. So the reporting actually comes from within those platforms. Carvin has recruited and hired a team of a few reporters to work on the effort. And we have Mathew Ingram, who's a senior writer at Giga Home here and a friend of Carvin's, to talk with us about the new effort. Welcome, Mathew.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So set the scene for us. What is, first of all, if people aren't familiar with First Look, can you tell us a little bit more about the drama that has preceded this new effort?
Wow, I'm not sure we have enough time. First Look started, I'm trying to remember when exactly, a year or so ago. Pierre Omidyar came out not long after Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post for $250 million. Pierre Omidyar said, I'm going to put $250 million into a new venture called First Look Media. It initially didn't even have a name, and it was the earliest version of it was just Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras and Jeremy Scahill doing sort of investigative Snowden-related stuff there. Part of First Look is called The Intercept. The idea originally was that First Look was going to launch a bunch of different sort of verticals, if you will, built around these prominent names like Glenn Greenwald. So they hired Matt Taibbi from Rolling Stone, and he was going to start one. In fact, had started one, had hired a bunch of people. And then kind of all hell broke loose not long ago, and there were reports of all sorts of mismanagement and interference. And Taibbi eventually quit. First Look shut down that project called The Racket. And so there's been a substantial amount of confusion and just sort of uncertainty about what exactly First Look was doing other than giving Glenn Greenwald a place to write. And so it's interesting to see this new project from Andy, which I'm actually quite excited about.
One of the things that we mentioned at the top of the of this report is that they're trying to reinvent journalism. They're also trying to reinvent some of the language that we use around journalism. For example, they're calling the people who monitor social media, they're calling them anchors. Normally an anchor is one of these guys. And they're calling them embedded in social media. Normally, to be embedded in something is where you're with a group of people invading Iraq and you're in the tank with the soldiers. That's usually what embedded means. So they're doing some creative definition of some of these terms, which is kind of awesome. But another interesting aspect of this is that some of the reporting that came out of the Arab Spring is serving as a model for what they're doing for all kinds of journalism. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so both of those things are sort of related. I mean, Andy, I think this, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think this idea, the team that's called Reportedly, is an attempt to kind of clone Andy. So what he did during the Arab Spring and other events after that, basically living on Twitter 24/7, using it as what he called his newsroom, finding news there, verifying, fact-checking news in real time. He's effectively trying to create a team of Andy Carvins. So to do that on a variety of different platforms, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, I'm sure other ones, and to do it within those platforms instead of just, he made a good point that a lot of media see Reddit or Twitter or Facebook as a place where you mostly just go and post links to your stuff. And so then you talk about them and then hopefully people come to your website. And that's not what Reportedly wants to do at all. It wants to live within these communities. So the person or people who are working within Reddit will have a subreddit, will do a lot of their work in Reddit. And it may, be aggregated or appear elsewhere, but that's the main place where it will live. And as far as the sort of titles go, Andy used to call himself a DJ because I don't think he wanted to kind of adopt the term journalist. There was a lot of criticism of his kind of approach from professional journalists. I happen to believe that what he was doing in this effort is journalism, whether he was trained as a journalist or not. But I think he prefers the term anchor, producer, DJ.
So here's the question that I have, and probably a lot of people have, and nothing was mentioned, of course, about money in this introduction. I think the $1 million question, or maybe not, is how on earth can you make money posting on another platform?
Well, that's a great question, and I had a similar question when BuzzFeed launched. Part of their new ventures is something called BuzzFeed Distributed. So they're going to have a team, I think, even larger than the one Andy has, that's just going to be creating content on specific platforms. It's not going to point to a BuzzFeed URL. It's not going to drive people to the site. It's just going to be on Instagram or Snapchat or wherever. And so you could ask, well, what's the point of doing that? You're basically creating value for these platforms. How do you then monetize that value? And I think obviously in the short term, Pierre Omidyar is a billionaire. They don't need to make money tomorrow. But I think in the longer term, they're hoping that building those relationships within those social media platforms will eventually drive enough awareness and sort of engagement with readers that they will then go to another place where reportedly or First Look monetizes that relationship in some way, whether it's live events or, subscription-based things, or perhaps they're not worried about making money at all. I honestly don't know.
Well, it's a great idea, I guess. I've been embedded in Google Plus for about 3 years, and I've written entire columns there and asked people to comment on it. I've done a lot of crowdsourcing. It's always been a place where I have ideas bouncing back and forth, and I've gotten many, many ideas from the community there on Google Plus and other social media as well, but mostly Google Plus. But you, Mathew Ingram, are just amazing on Twitter. You just are really into Twitter, and for anybody who cares about journalism and technology and journalism, your Twitter feed is the one to follow, and I really appreciate that. You can follow Mathew Ingram at gigaohm.com, and of course on Twitter. You got to follow him on Twitter at Mathew WI. That's M-A-T, one T, M-A-T-H-E-W-I. Thanks for joining us, Mathew.
Great. Thanks for having me, Mike.
All right. Well, the makers of South Korea's top messaging app called KakaoTalk introduced a feature called Secret Mode, which offers end-to-end encryption for messages. Sounds like it's not that big of a deal, but the move is the latest in a series of escalations following a call by South Korean President Park Geun-hye for prosecutors to crack down on social media rumor mongers. The company had stopped honoring government warrants in October from prosecutors demanding to see KakaoTalk messages. KakaoTalk is installed on about 93% of South Korean smartphones and has more than 150 million registered users. The entire population of South Korea is only about 50 million. Lindsey, Turrentine, this is kind of crazy. They're just the police show up with a warrant and they say no. I mean, how are they getting away with that, I wonder? I mean, it's a bold move, and it's a popular one, I think, within South Korea because people are freaked out about this social media snooping. But I wonder how long they're going to get away with it.
I don't know. I mean, I think this is a really good example of large groups of people organizing over social media and just kind of saying like, well, what are you going to do? This is what the people want, and proceeding from there. And it is really gutsy. I'll be surprised if it succeeds in the long run, but maybe it'll make some progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Lindsey, another day, another Uber controversy. What happened this time?
So this time, and this is a pretty upsetting story, officials in the New Delhi region have banned Uber completely after one of its drivers appeared in court under suspicion of raping a passenger after she nodded off in the back of his car. And the local police said that the driver was accused of and detained for the same thing many months, for over a period of many months in 2011, and that Uber didn't run a background check on the man and then hired him. Uber has, the sad thing is that Uber has grown relatively quickly in New Delhi, and reports say that because there's a lot of concern over rape in India, Uber has been seen as a safe way to get home after you're in one place and you need to get back to where you live. So this is surprising and upsetting for the people of New Delhi, obviously. And Uber says, this is very serious. This is very terrible. We're going to work on making it easier to get background checks through, and sort of point their finger at the New Delhi police force, saying that it's too hard to get an accurate background check. So a lot of discussion going on there. Uber obviously says it's taking things very seriously, but Uber doesn't have a great reputation right now, especially when it comes to gender issues. Yeah, that's for sure. And the thing is that I think you really hit the nail on the head. This is, Uber's really being unfairly singled out here.
there have been a history of rape cases involving public transportation, including one of the most famous ones took place on a city bus. There have been rapes in licensed taxis multiple times, and yet none of those things were banned. This is a part of an ongoing series that we talk about constantly on this show, which is that the new thing is often singled out for special, consideration when it comes to banning or censoring or whatever. I mean, the right to be forgotten is another case. They won't, in Europe, they won't censor newspapers and magazines and books and so on, but they will censor search engines. Why? Because search engines are new, and therefore, sort of it's easy to do politically. And this is another case where Uber is new, and therefore one case is enough for it to be, at least for now, banned. It's really kind of weird. And of course, Uber CEO Travis Kalanick sort of got a jab in there in his statement of concern for the victim. He said that Uber would, quote, work with the government to establish clear background checks currently absent in their commercial transportation licensing program. So while simultaneously saying they're looking to do something about this, they're also saying, hey, the licensed taxis, the ones that weren't banned, they have no background checks, and unlike Uber, they don't have GPS tracking for the drivers for the most part. And so really the good news is that something has to be done about this. The women in India have to feel much safer. I've read a lot of stories about how dangerous it is in India just to get in any sort of taxi or bus or anything, where before they get in the car, before they get on the bus, they text everybody, they several people that they know, they tell them where they are, what the license plate of the taxi is before they get in. They have to do all this kind of stuff just to get home from work. And so it's really a horrible situation. And hopefully this Uber case will bring even more attention to it. And if anybody wants to follow the ongoing problem, the hashtag on Twitter is called Delhi Shamed Again. That's hashtag Delhi Shamed Again. And you'll get not only the Uber story on Twitter, but lots and lots of commentary about the larger issue of the safety of women in India. So interesting story, but it's another, it's another problem, another barrier for Uber. I think Uber deserves a lot of blame for a lot of things, but this one seems unfair to Uber, in my opinion.
It's a really tough one. I mean, certainly Uber talks a lot about the background checks it does on its drivers in the US. It says that it checks going back 7 years. So safety has been part of Uber's messaging, and it is pretty damning that this happened with somebody who had been incarcerated previously for this exact thing. But I do tend to think that, Uber may be having to fall on its sword a little bit, and that it's a much, much larger problem. And like you said, victims in India and just women in general are having to sort of police this themselves, which is not the way it should be. This particular victim took photos with her phone of the car itself, of its license plate, of the cab. And having to have the wherewithal to do that after such a traumatic experience is, it's pretty insane. So I hope something happens very soon.
Yeah, so do I. Well, in just a sec, we've got some updates for you, but first I want to talk about smart things. I love smart things because smart things let you control and monitor your home from anywhere using your smartphone. We've all talked about the Internet of Things, and the one that is in your home, hopefully in the near future, which is home automation. It's a wonderful category. The problem is most home automation solutions are really hard to do and super expensive. And of course, smart things is the opposite of that. It's very inexpensive and very easy to do. You can control and automate your lights and small appliances. You can protect your valuables. You can get instant alerts to prevent leaks from becoming major floods or to prevent your pipes from freezing. And with a smart power outlet and moisture sensor, this is a cool one, you can even trigger your coffee maker to start when you get in the shower. That's right, once it detects water in the shower, time to fire up Mr. Coffee. Using the Smart Things app, you can easily see what's happening in every room and with all of your connected devices. The Smart Things app, which you use to control your home, is free, and it's available for iOS and Android and also Windows Phone. The Smart Things family of smart sensors and outlets work with hundreds of popular connected devices, so if you've already got home automation stuff, you should know that it works with Logitech, Dropcam, Nest, Sonos, and Philips, and others. Next year, you'll even be able to control and automate a variety of Samsung appliances, including the big stuff like refrigerators, washers and dryers, air conditioners, and even Samsung's cool robot vacuum cleaner. To get started creating your smart home, visit smartthings.com/twit, and you'll save 10% off any home security solution kit by entering the code TWIT10 at checkout. The 10 is for 10% off. For fans of Twit, solution kits start at just $170, and home security kits start at just $350. Each kit includes a SmartThings hub with everything you'll need to turn your home into a smart home in as little as 15 minutes. You also get free shipping anywhere within the U.S. That's smartthings.com/twit. And remember, don't forget to enter the code TWIT10 at checkout. Well, a TNT fan named Michael Evans sent us an email about police body cameras. Of course, we've been talking about police body cameras a lot on this show. And he wrote, I think this in particular is a great use case for Google Glass, and it would work perfectly. So my question is, why doesn't the government just buy Google Glass for police officers instead of buying some unused product? Also, maybe Google will offer free storage for the police so that all of the important information is stored in the cloud. Thanks for your time. Keep up the good work, guys. And, of course, Lindsey Turrentine, I think you're probably thinking the same thing I am. Battery life. Google
Battery
Glass.
life. Yeah, and I've worn Google Glass for periods of time. It's not as tough as it seems. I mean, the frame is titanium and it can bend, and that's cool. But when you have something sort of balancing on your ears, Google Glass, unless it were redesigned specifically to really, really strap it around your head, is not something that you would want to wear when you're out in a physical situation where you might be wrestling over something or struggling in any way. I think it could be. It's not quite tough enough for that yet, but the concept is not a terrible one. And there are certainly lots of helmet cams out there in the world, and many places a police officer could wear a camera.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think you're absolutely right. I think the police someday may have body cameras that happen to go and be integrated as part of a heads-up display that's fully integrated in a way that's safe for everybody and that isn't going to get damaged, that has good battery life. But that's probably 5-10 years away. I think the miniaturization that's required for all of that is on its way. But I think, over time, heads-up displays in general are going to become much more mainstream, and I think it'll be something of a no-brainer to integrate something like Google Glass that is conceptually like Google Glass into whatever it is that the police wear, as you say, whether it's a helmet or whether it's sunglasses or whatever.
Yeah,
well,
I like being able to see somebody's eyes. I mean, I have to say, right? Like, whatever is done, I hope that it helps, police officers can continue to make direct eye contact, because anything that would obscure your eyes, I think, does not help with the social aspect of the job. Just my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we told you on November 20th about a TGI Fridays restaurant in Manchester, UK, testing drones that fly around inside the restaurant, dangling clumps of mistletoe over the heads of couples. I said on that episode that it was a dangerous idea, and unfortunately, I was right. A newspaper called the Brooklyn Daily said a New York TGI Fridays also did the mistletoe drone promotion, and showing off for a reporter, the restaurant's drone operator tried to land the drone on her hand, but just before touchdown, she flinched, sending the drone to swerve into the face of a Brooklyn Daily photographer, drawing blood. What a terrible idea. Merry Christmas to you. Here's a drone in your face.
This is just the beginning here, I gotta say.
That's right. In other news, swiping to the right on someone's picture in the Tinder dating app means you like the person. If two people like each other, then the courtship can begin. But now an engineer named James Befford has figured out how to cast the widest possible love net. He created a robot finger to indiscriminately swipe right on every profile in rapid succession. Let's have a look at this robot finger for liking people on Tinder. There it is. Brilliant.
Oh.
Yeah, I think, I'm sorry, James, I think you're going to be lonely for a long time. Maybe you should
Seems like he's creating a lot of work for himself.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That is a lot of work. Well, you know what? There may be an engineer out there who's just right for him, but that he's going to have a lot of inbox stuff coming in with all that swiping. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Srinivas Jain in Mumbai, India, who posted this picture on Google Plus and says he enjoys his commute to the office with Tech News Today. And there you are, Lindsey Turrentine, right there. Look at that. How cool is that?
It's really awesome. It's really fun, and I look very surprised to be in a cab.
Yeah, are we all? There we are in Mumbai, India, in a cab on our way to work with this guy, with Srinivas. So very cool. And, if you got pictures, if you got a cool commute, if you do something interesting or not, we want to see or hear all about how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we'll find it. Well, that is the tech news today. Lindsey Turrentine, thank you so much for co-anchoring. What are you working on these days?
We are getting ready for the end of the year and lots of end-of-year content.
So
it's a fun time of year, looking back, looking forward, all that fun stuff.
Yes. All right. Well, wonderful. Look forward to all of your coverage. And again, thanks for co-anchoring today.
You're welcome. See you next week.
All right. You can subscribe to Tech News Today on iTunes. Of course, you can subscribe on iTunes. It's a great place to subscribe if you use iTunes. Choose your favorite. If you don't like iTunes, at twit.tv/TNT. You can follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV. And please send us your thoughts and opinions. Send email to tnt@twit.tv or call us at 260-TNT-SHOW. And don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight and every weeknight right here on the Twit Network. My name's Mike Elgan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.